Hi, everyone. We are going to do a little bit of a review today about the parts of plot. In LA, we're coming back to looking at the parts of a story, the different elements of a story. So I wanted to just go through that with you today. Here we go. So as you know, we usually look at a plot when we look at the plot mountain, the parts of a story. Here are the 5 main parts of the story. So we're going to start with the exposition. As you know, the exposition usually introduces the characters, the setting, and sometimes the conflict. Okay, our characters, of course, can be people, animals, or even creatures from another galaxy or planet. When we talk about our main character, that is the protagonist. The protagonist is our main character. They're who the story is mostly about. The protagonist can actually be a good guy, but the protagonist could also be a bad guy. If the story is all about a criminal and how he's trying to escape the police, he is, in fact, the protagonist, even though he is basically bad. The antagonist is the person who is going against the protagonist, who is pushing against the protagonist, usually causing the problem. Like in my example before, if our protagonist was a criminal escaping the police, his antagonist would be the police. They're the good guys, but they're causing the problem for him. He's trying to get away and they're following him. He's trying to escape and they're trying to catch him. Okay. These are just a couple other examples of antagonists. These are the typical bad guys in a story, but I want you to know that an antagonist doesn't necessarily have to be a bad guy. This is something new I wanted to introduce, which is a static character. If you notice, it says a static character stays the same. They stay nice through the whole story, or they stay evil through the whole story. Okay. They are the character that needs to be in a story, and yet they don't change much. Their personality remains the same. However, a dynamic character is a character that actually changes. Okay. They might have been bad in the beginning, learned from their mistakes, and have become good. They might have been bad, had some things happen to them, and changed their ways. They also might have been someone you thought was good, but actually turned out to be the evil mastermind behind it all. So it could also be the opposite. Of course, the setting is the time and the place the story takes place in. It might be in the past, it might be in the present, it might be in the future, might be during a war, it might be in a town, a city, on the moon, in Mars, whatever kind of setting that's happening in the story. All stories have a conflict. There's always a conflict in every story. It could be man versus man, which is this character and this character are fighting. It's a very typical conflict. I have a problem with Julie and we're fighting about it. There are other conflicts, man versus nature, where there's a snowstorm and I have to try to survive. Man versus society, that might be about this family that's having a problem, but the government isn't helping them, and society would be the government. Man versus technology, which might be like an evil robot army against, Johnny. And then man versus self, which we have happen very often when a character is upset, stressed, frustrated, and the problem is inside of their mind. It's inside of their heart. It's happening within themselves. So again, that's at the exposition. And then we start to go up the rising action, up that side of the mountain. The rising action leads us up to the climax. And the climax is the turning point. The turning point is Is the conflict going to be solved? Is it going to change? It's usually a very exciting point. We're waiting to find out what happens next. Okay. But that is the climax. And then we start going down the mountain. The falling action, a couple of things might happen. And then we get to the resolution. And the resolution, you can see it says when the conflict is resolved, but you can also see the word solution, like the solution to the problem. Okay. The solution to the problem. This is a picture of Cinderella. And then the problem is resolved and she gets to be with the prince. She has a terrible life in the beginning and she gets to have her happily ever after at the end. Something else your teachers might have talked about are the point of view of the character, the point of view of the story. In the Three Little Pigs, the little pigs say, oh, that terrible wolf tried to eat us. But in the true story of the Three Little Pigs, the wolf says, no, that's not true. I was framed. I just wanted to borrow a cup of sugar. And the point of view or the perspective changes. Again, whether you're the reader or the writer, there are all types of literary elements. These are a few of the ones I just talked about. Okay, these are all things that we need to know when we talk about the plot of a story. Hey, so that is the end of my explanation. I'm hoping that that made sense. Now you're going to watch an Edpuzzle. I'm going to send that in a different post. This was part 1 of today's lesson, and part 2 will be the Edpuzzle. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.